We ended last week with a superb stout, courtesy of the fine folk at Wander Beyond. And as darkness descends the land, it seems only right that darkness continues to flood my glass. So today we get stuck into my very first brew from New Kids on the Block, Amity Brew Co. Amity opened their doors in December of last year, so we could expect a birthday brew in the works, so let's keep an eye on those fridges. Now, I can only imagine that opening a brew pub / brewery is tricky enough at the best of times, but opening your doors, or not opening your doors as the case may have been, during the midst of a global pandemic, that must have been something else. Although I'm sure it's given them ample time to work on some of those recipes. And as their first year draws to a close, let me wish them happy birthday and all the success for the future. Unless, of course, this next beer's a complete dud, then I retract everything. But I am somewhat doubting that. As today we have ourselves an Imperial Vanilla and Marshmallow Stout, brewed in collaboration with the gourmet confectionist, the Marshmallowist. So this should be quite the treat. Now, there was one thing that really caught my eye when researching these guys. Although they've only been in business for a little under a year, they sure have racked up some very impressive collaborators. As well as today, they've got brewing with the likes of Northern Monk, Beavertown, and Thornbridge. That's some rap sheet in your first year, I'm sure you'll agree. So if they're attracting the attention of some of the big guns, they sure as hell must be doing something right. So here it is, complete and utter nonsense. And as this is my first encounter with them, let's have a little look and see what they've got to say for themselves. Amity Brew Co stands for Community, Friendship and Good Beer. Founded by good friends over a mutual love of classic beer and new styles. Our modern brew pub is based in a historical mill in Farsley, Leeds, and is a cosy, welcoming place to enjoy a beer or two. Somewhere to add to your visiting list, avid travellers. And they can be found on all the usual social medias at Amity Brew Co. And they also have a little line about the beer. When we first tried Una's treats, we were blown away. They're little bites of souffle like heaven. And we thought they'd be crazy fun to put in a big stout, as well as use her expertise in making a vegan treat so the beer can be enjoyed by even more people. This is a dessert in a can, and that is exactly what I was hoping for. So let's see if it can live up to the bill. Let's get pouring. So it's got a really chocolatey cocoa nose. And you're definitely getting a lot of that sweetness in there too. So yeah, very, very sweet up top. That chocolate's in there just slightly. And a really, really almost fruity note. It's a little bit of raspberry I'm getting in there. There's a little bit of chewiness in the marshmallow there. Could be thicker though. But yeah, definitely getting a fruity, sweet, jam-like note in there. It is completely jet black, which is what you like to see, and a nice little tan head on there too. And although that marshmallow is noticeable, and it's trying its best to be a little bit chewy too, the beer itself is just a little too thin to allow that to happen. It's definitely got the makeup of one of those tea cakes. You're getting that layer of chocolate with that subtle, chewy marshmallow and a big, sweet jamminess at the bottom. All we're missing is that layer of biscuit. And maybe it's that sweetness or the come down from that 11% Imperial from last time, but it doesn't feel all that heavy. I know it's an 8% Imperial, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't really feel like one. But for me personally, if I'm drinking a heavy one, I do like to be reminded every now and again. And of course, the obvious comparison would be the Stay Puft, and it's just a shame I haven't got a can to try after, as it has been so many years since I last had one of those. And being honest, the beer could do with a little more body, but that said, I am definitely getting through it. So it is definitely on the drinkable scale of Imperials, that is, if very sweet beers are your thing. And to be fair to them, they do advertise it as a dessert stout, so you have been warned. And now we're down into the beer. I've got to admit, not a whole lot has changed. Those fruity, jammy notes are still very much dominating the tops. That marshmallow and chocolate, they're in the back and they're nicely settled there, but there's nothing really more coming from behind. We're not getting any of those maybe perhaps coffee or roasted notes that you might expect from a stout, and there isn't a whole lot of development as the beer's gone on. So the nose really does give it away. It's very chocolatey and very sweet, and from the very first sip, that's exactly what you get. And although it's advertised as a marshmallow stout, it's very much a jammy sweetness that takes the lead. And that marshmallow and chocolate does tend to take a little bit of a backseat to that. I'd also have liked that chocolate to be a little bit more dominating, maybe adding a little richness and bitterness to the mix, to perhaps counter some of that super sweetness. And as I'm on the criticism, I've got to mention that body, or the lack thereof. One of the things I expect in a stout, especially an Impy Stout, and especially a marshmallow Impy Stout, is that real thickness of body. And of course, in this instance, a real chewiness to go along with it. And although that marshmallow does try to grab in at the back of your cheeks, it never does get much of a hold. And one of the things I do look forward to in a good beer is how it develops as we go on. I like the beer to tell me a little something or take me on a journey. Maybe show me a little personality. But alas, this takes us nowhere and remains pretty much at face value throughout. Now it definitely does sound like it's all criticism and no compliment, but I will say it is still a very enjoyable brew. It is exactly as advertised. Well, nearly as advertised. As personally, I definitely have gone down marketing it as a tea cake sort of stout. As for me, that would have been right on the nose. It has that chocolatey in there, that bit of marshmallow, and that lovely bit of jam. Exactly what you want in that tinfoil wrapped treat. So if you're a lover of those little beauts, then this beer has your name written all over it.